Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Bold Take Scouting Podcast. It was quite the eventful weekend and a Thursday night for Trevor Lawrence for the rookie quarterbacks. And so we're going to be recapping all of their performances, discussing them, analyzing them. And so let's get right into it. Alex, I know you're a Jets fan, so you've got to be excited about the game that Zach Wilson had on Sunday. Jets picked up their first win, and Wilson really showed out. What do you think of his performance?
Yeah, I think Wilson really played like any Jets fan and draft analyst would have expected him to play. And it was really, really great to see that, he had two bad games. He got over that hump. He put those games behind him. And he really led that Jets team to a win. He kept them in the game the whole time. There were multiple drives where he showed poise, composure, driving them down the field, making the throws that he needed to make. Finding the open man, not being afraid to throw to his check down, which was great to see. He seemed to force the ball a little bit the first few games. He found his check down, wasn't afraid to throw to the running back. His interception was not his fault. Corey Davis literally just fell down on his route, and that just happens sometimes. But other than that, it was a very good game from Zach Wilson. Like I said, he had a drive late in the fourth quarter to get up 24-17. And then obviously the Titans drove down, scored, and then he had the overtime drive to drive the Jets into field goal position down at the goal line as well. So, he made really good throws all around. He showed off that arm talent that we saw in the draft process, 2 50-yard bombs. Just really a great performance all around from Zach Wilson. And, it really looks like he's kind of finding his stride a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we saw Wilson mature on Sunday. Last year at BYU, everything was going right all year, and he really rode a wave, and he was on a cloud all year. He was playing absolutely incredible. But I think that he always, when considering whether or not to try to make a hero play, I think he very often opted to make the hero play last year, and then he was brutally reminded the first couple weeks of this NFL season that doesn't really work in the NFL. And I think he found a much better balance against the Panthers this week, in that he wasn't afraid to rely on his check down, like you said, but he also had a couple incredible throws where he did go out and sling it and drop the ball on the dime. And I was really excited to see that, because he has that kind of improvisational ability, that kind of big play ability. And if he just manages to rein it in and not force it too much like he did the first couple weeks, he can be a really good player in this league. And so I hope that the game against the Panthers just now is indicative of how he's going to play the rest of the season. Titans, yeah, my bad.
Yeah, and the last point on Zach Wilson, I think you brought up a great point about finding a good balance. Like he still made those hero plays, like I said, the 50-yard throws, but they were never forced. It was making the hero plays when he knew he could make the throw. For example, in overtime, there was maybe a 30-yard pass that he made on 3rd and 2. Obviously they were driving right past the 50-yard line, and I'm thinking, you know what, it's 3rd and 2. Let's just throw a quick slant, get the first down. He did not care. He was going to go for it all. Threw a 30-yard pass right along the sideline. Beautiful touch right in the receiver's hands. And, like I said, he knows when to make the hero plays now. Obviously, we'll still see some mistakes. He's a rookie. He's got still a big learning curve, as do all rookies. But he's really started to reining it in. And, I can make this throw, or I'm going to stick with my check down.
Yeah, and the other top rookie performer at the quarterback position was Mac Jones for the Patriots, going against the reigning Super Bowl champs, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I was extremely impressed by his performance. He was pressured all night. The Patriots tackles really didn't do a great job of keeping him clean, and I was really worried about that potentially happening when he was coming out. I thought that he really didn't have the athleticism or the ability to sense pressure to escape those situations. But we saw huge strides in that regard, and being able to sense the pressure and get the ball out. He was consistently delivering the ball extremely quickly before the pass rushers could get to him. He knew that they were coming at him. He didn't drop his eyes. He kept his eyes downfield, stood tall, delivered a pass after pass. He even had 19 straight completions at one point against the Tampa Bay defense. So I was really impressed with Mac Jones's performance. And I think that can bring us to why we were wrong on Mac Jones. Mac Jones was both of our QB5s, and we we just weren't that high on him. So, Alex, what lessons are you already drawing from how you evaluated Mac Jones versus how well he's played so far for the Patriots?
So I think the first thing, the kind of obvious thing, was throughout the scouting process, we heard how intelligent Mac Jones was. And from our perspective as scouts, we obviously can't talk to Mac Jones. We can't talk to any of his coaches at Alabama, any of his teammates. So it's kind of hard for us to take that into consideration too much because obviously his Alabama coaching staff, teammates, whatever, want to pump him up and say that he's smart. And, obviously he is extremely smart. He was always able to find the open man, um, regardless of, the pressure. And the other big thing for me was what I had as Mac Jones's weaknesses was, his arm strength. He didn't have the greatest arm strength. His athleticism, not great, struggled to escape pressure. And the thing that I overlooked is he really knows his limits. He knows that he can't make a super deep throw. He knows that he might not be able to fit the ball into a pinpoint window. He knows that he's not going to be able to escape pressure, but that's okay because he can play very, very well within his limits. And that's the thing that I kind of overlooked when scouting Mac Jones. I was like, all right, Zach Wilson can make all these athletic plays, improvisational ability. Trevor Lawrence, like almost nearly the best quarterback that we've scouted. Mac Jones, he didn't have any of those flashy things, but the thing that he possessed, probably better than the other two that I just mentioned, was he knows how to play within his limits better than those other two guys.
Yeah, my primary concern with him, as you said, was the lack of athleticism, lack of escapability. I thought that when the play breaks down in the NFL, he won't be able to do anything and he'll be in trouble. Whereas guys like Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, and Justin Fields are all incredible athletes and have great escapability and can extend the play really well. And we saw that on their college film, whereas we didn't really see that with Mac Jones. But I think, as you alluded to, I really underestimated his ability to beat defenses with his brain. Um, for me, this is the second time in a few years that I've missed on a quarterback prospect that was heralded as extremely intelligent. The first one being Justin Herbert, and from now on, I'm not going to be taking that lightly. I'm really gonna be giving a boost. It's unfortunate because it's something we have to rely on hearing and not what we see ourselves on tape, but now that it's happened twice, assuming Mac Jones keeps having success with the Patriots, I think that I'm going to have to really take that into account because you can see it in his game. He's an extremely quick processor of the field. He can sense the pressure. He knows when to get it out, who the open man is. And while he doesn't have the arm to be consistently dropping deep balls or doesn't have the athleticism to escape pressure and get chunks of yardage with his legs, he has the brain to beat defenses. And I think that that's something that I definitely underestimated. And we've seen all these quarterbacks in recent times that have had a lot of success early in their career, from Patrick Mahomes to Josh Allen to Justin Herbert, and they're all these physical and athletic prototypes. And I guess we were bound to be reminded that being smart, being accurate, getting the ball out to the right player at the right time can make you a good quarterback too, and that's what Mac Jones is.
Yeah, and I think the bottom line for me is something that I already mentioned is he's willing to play within his boundaries. I think if he tried to be the guy that could scramble a little bit, tried to throw the ball deep, tried to, fit those super tight window balls, he would not be as good as he is right now. It's because he knows what he can do. And I think that's a big distinction to make when looking at a quarterback similar to Mac Jones in the future. Sure, he may be super smart, but if he's still going to try to make those throws that he can't make, that's where the issue arises. And Mac Jones obviously does not do that. He knows exactly what he can do, and that's probably the biggest positive for me for Mac Jones.
Yeah, I think that I would include that under football intelligence, is not only being able to read the field and have a great recall of the playbook, but yeah, being able to know your limits. And that's a big thing with Mac. He would not be anywhere near as successful as he is right now if he was trying to force it and be the type of quarterback that he's not. The next quarterback that we're going to discuss is the first overall pick, Trevor Lawrence, and he also, like Mac Jones and Zach Wilson, had the best game of his short NFL career so far. The Jaguars really went down to the wire with the Bengals, and he played really well throughout. And what I really like to see is his rushing ability. Actually, I think it was a little overused. 18 carries is way too much for your quarterback, but I thought one area where he was really underrated in coming out was his rushing ability. He's an extremely fast player. He can really break off big runs and give you something with his legs. When we thought of Justin Fields and Trey Lance as running threats, but I was always saying that Trevor Lawrence is one too, and we saw that. And we also saw him just play smarter football, and I think that goes along with what we discussed with Zach Wilson, is that he's really learning on the fly, and it was good to see him come out in week 4 and have a better game than the previous 3 weeks, in which he's not putting the ball in danger as much and just playing much cleaner football.
Yeah, I think Zach Wilson and Mac Jones really, had the two biggest games this week. But Trevor Lawrence also had a very good game. Like you said, it was clean. He looked a lot more comfortable back there. Made much better decisions. Like you said, his rushing ability is definitely underrated. He's not Lamar Jackson, but he's not Mac Jones either. He can run. He's athletic, and at 6'6", that's extremely impressive to see. So I just think we'll continue to see a nice slow progression from Trevor Lawrence. He's not on a very good team in the Jacksonville Jaguars, so maybe don't expect like huge, massive, highlight filled games from Trevor Lawrence, but expect to see him slowly progress throughout the season and just continue to be better and better and really prove why he was the first overall pick.
Yeah, I think he's in a situation where most rookie quarterbacks would fail, and I don't think he will fail. He won't have the best year like you said, but I think it'll be good enough to still be confident in his abilities long term, and he'll end up being a very good quarterback. Because if you look at the talent level on that team, it's really not great, and right now it's kind of a mess in Jacksonville. We've heard a ton of things coming out about, mostly centered around Urban Meyer, some of his off field antics, it seems like the players have lost respect for him, and it's just not the right situation you want, not the right environment for your young quarterback. But Trevor Lawrence has a really good head on his shoulders. He's going to be able to withstand that, whereas other rookie quarterbacks might crumble in such a bad situation. But I like to see that type of game from Trevor Lawrence, and I think we'll be seeing him have some similar performances the rest of the year.
Yeah, last thing on Trevor Lawrence. I heard some people talking about the whole situation in Jacksonville, and I heard someone kind of relate it to what Peyton Manning had to deal with when he was drafted in 1998. He did not have a very good head coach in Jim Mora. I think they went 3-13 his rookie season. He threw the most interceptions ever. And obviously Peyton Manning is in the Hall of Fame, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. So not to say Trevor Lawrence is Peyton Manning, but he has that head on his shoulders. He has that talent. He has that confidence in himself that he needs to overcome a bad situation to start his career.
I totally agree. And the next quarterback that surprisingly saw a lot of action this weekend was Trey Lance. Jimmy Garoppolo went down with an injury, and Trey Lance came in, played the rest of the game. And I thought Trey Lance was pretty similar to what we saw at North Dakota State. Obviously, keeping that same level of play is impressive when it's in the NFL and not an FCS level. But I think we saw some inconsistencies in his mechanics that affected some of his accuracy. You saw a few balls that were off target, but he brought a lot with his legs, and that's what he's going to do. I think it's a important added dimension for the 49ers offense. I think he's very lucky to be playing for the 49ers because he's just not good enough of a passer yet to be a quality NFL quarterback, and on another team where he'd be getting pressured more, where his receivers wouldn't be nearly as open, where they wouldn't be getting chunks of yardage after the play, I think he'd be in a lot more trouble. But he's really in the right environment, and I think that either by choice or by necessity, if Jimmy Garoppolo isn't healthy next for this upcoming week or later in the season, I think that the 49ers can still be good with Trey Lance, even as he's learning how to play the quarterback position, because he still is a very inexperienced player. Because first of all, he can really rely on his legs and get chunks of yards that way. He has an offense that's built for yards after the catch, and it's not like he's a disaster with his arm right now. He's still a good passer, just not really in the frame of an NFL quarterback. We still need to see him develop his mechanics, his accuracy, and I think that if there's one place where he can really do that without having some disastrous games where it all falls apart, it is San Francisco with that team and that coaching staff behind them.
Yeah, and to continue on, what we're saying about Trey Lance, he also has a really strong arm too. So he pretty much has everything going for him besides his accuracy and throwing mechanics. And I think if there's anyone that can help ease that transition, especially with the talent that he has, minus his really throwing ability, it's Kyle Shanahan. He can game plan and say, all right, I know Trey Lance can make this throw. This is going to be in the game. I know he can chuck a deep ball 45, 50 yards and hit a guy like Debo Samuel in stride. That will be in the game. So, I had my bold take about Trey Lance starting a few weeks ago, and I really would like to see him start. I know he's not a finished product yet. I know he still has inconsistencies. If there's any place for a rookie quarterback with inconsistencies to thrive as a rookie, be put in the best position to win, as he still fixes up the things that he needs to fix up, it's in San Francisco with Kyle Shanahan and that talented offense around him.
You're totally right. Shanahan's not going to be asking him to do things he can't do. He's not going to, if Lance has to play a full game for the 49ers, you're not going to see him throw the ball 35, 40 times. You're not going to see an abundance of tight window over the middle throws because he's just not there yet in his development as a passer. But what you're going to see is him making the types of throws that he already can make, and you're going to see him be able to use his legs a lot to his advantage. And with the way that offense is built, like I said, they can definitely still put up a lot of points with Trey Lance. And I agree with you. He didn't play football last year in 2020, with the exception of that one exhibition game. So I do want to see Trey Lance out there getting a real NFL reps and being able to grow through his development. And I think that really is the best thing for the 49ers, because I don't know if Jimmy Garoppolo currently shows a big upgrade over Trey Lance in terms of football ability. And I think I'd go with the young quarterback that you invested so much in, and putting him on the field to develop him.
Here's a bold take. Maybe Trey Lance shows more upside than Jimmy Garoppolo right now, just
Yeah.
because Kyle Shanahan is the head coach. Like we said, he's going to put both of the quarterbacks in the best position to win. I think if you shield Trey Lance from the things he can't do, he can have a higher upside than Jimmy Garoppolo because of the things that he can do.
Yeah, I cannot stress enough how much of a help to that offense it is that Trey Lance can run the ball as well as he can, compared to Jimmy Garoppolo, who really has very limited mobility. He time and time again, he's going to be able to rely on his legs to get him yards, to keep the drive alive, to get points, even when if he didn't have that, he'd have to be forcing it, putting the ball where it's not supposed to be, panicking. So it's really good for him that he has that athleticism. And you're right, in the context of that talented offense with a really smart coach who's going to play to his limits, to his strengths. I think it's definitely the best thing for the 49ers if Trey Lance is out there, even if he is still pretty inconsistent right now as a passer.
Yeah, I think now we can move on to the last first round quarterback that we're going to talk about, Justin Fields, who got this was his first or his second start, right?
Yeah.
The Bears, and it was nice to see the Bears kind of game plan more towards Justin Fields this week. I think in his first start, he was really limited by, maybe the game plan they had was still kind of geared towards Andy Dalton. I think we saw him able to act more like himself this week against the Lions, but still, he was able to run around more, make plays with his legs. And I think he looked better than last week. It wasn't a great game, but it was definitely better than we saw the previous week.
Yeah, I really liked what Justin Fields showed on Sunday against the Lions. We got to see flashes of that really good deep ball ability that we saw time and time again at Ohio State. He connected with Darnell Mooney deep a couple times and had really flashed the ability to drop it in the bucket deep, and that's what Justin Fields can bring to your offense. We saw him use his legs on occasion, and I think the big difference was that they kept him a lot cleaner. The protection was a lot better. It was nowhere near as disastrous as it was the previous week against the Browns, where he got sacked 9 times. And that's what allowed Justin Fields to have a better game. So I hope that moving forward, that's going to be able to still be the case. And I expect us to see Justin Fields get better every single week if he's given the ability to stay clean and find the open receiver and learn to put his strengths on the field in an NFL offense.
Yeah, and now moving to the last rookie quarterback to take some meaningful snaps and start some games. The Houston Texans quarterback Davis Mills, and
Yeah. Go ahead.
so I mean Mills kind of the first game he started when Tyrod Taylor got hurt. It wasn't bad. It was not great by any means, but after that it really fell off, and you saw it this game against the talented Bills defense. Four interceptions, less than 100 passing yards. It was an ugly game from Davis Mills, and he just should not be on the field right now.
Yeah, I really didn't like Mills in the pre-draft process, and in that second tier of quarterbacks, I preferred both Kellen Mond and Kyle Trask to him, and I think that the Texans had to go into this season with a really a backup that wasn't Davis Mills, because we've seen Terod Taylor get hurt before and be forced off the field, and I don't there was going to be nothing good from putting in Davis Mills. Now, if you're spending a third round pick, which was especially valuable to them because it was their first pick in the draft, a draft in which they had very little draft capital. If you're spending that pick on a player that was as raw as Davis Mills, as a reminder, Mills only started 11 games in college. I think that they definitely needed to keep him off the field because it's just not a good team around him, and he's just not a good NFL quarterback right now. He's not ready for this stage at all. On his tape, I rarely saw accurate passes beyond 15 yards. The ball was kind of sprayed wherever, and it didn't really result in that many interceptions in college. But when you consider that NFL defenders are a lot faster, they're a lot better athletes, and they have a lot better instincts. When the ball's off target, they're going to be getting to it and making the interception at a much higher rate. And we saw that on Sunday with four interceptions. He really had a stinker of a game, and I don't think there's any way to sugarcoat this for Texans fans. I didn't like Davis Mills coming out, and I certainly don't like him starting in the NFL right now. It's just not the right thing for him, for his development, or for the Texans.
Yeah, and people kind of brought up Trey Lance's lack of experience, and the argument that Trey Lance should sit and adjust to the NFL game. Davis Mills has less. I
Yeah.
think he played 12 or 13 total career games in college. So I mean, he really had pretty much no experience. If you take into account, you can't even learn your offense playing 13 games in college. Like you need at least a full season to be able to take that in. So Mills has pretty much no experience as a starting quarterback. And like you said, neither of us liked him. I also had Kellen Mond and Kyle Trask ahead of Davis Mills, and it was just disastrous last week against the Bills. And it's unfortunate for the Texans that Tyrod Taylor is hurt right now, because he has looked decent as a quarterback with an underwhelming Texans team.
Yeah, what's worse for Davis Mills is coming off the heels of this performance against the Bills. He now has the Patriots and Bill Belichick, who really feasts on rookie quarterbacks, awaiting him on Sunday. So I don't think things will be looking up very soon for the Texans and Mills.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate for Mills that he had to get thrown into the fire as quickly as he did. That wraps it up for all the quarterbacks that we needed to talk about this week. I just have a question for you. Obviously, Mac Jones, Trevor Lawrence, and Zach Wilson are starting. You think Justin Fields and Trey Lance should be starting the rest of the year as well?
Yes, I think that's the best thing for them. I don't think that I think they're both good teams, and I don't really even think that the incumbent starters present upgrades to them. I know how inexperienced Justin Fields and Trey Lance are at the NFL level, but we saw it from Andy Dalton and Jimmy Garoppolo, and they're really not above average NFL quarterbacks right now. So I think that they should be putting in Fields and Lance for the rest of the season, try to win games with them, let them develop, play to their strengths, minimize their weaknesses, and both of them have that running ability that the starting quarterbacks do not. So I think that the offense is a lot more interesting and maybe even harder to defend with Fields and Lance out there. So yes, I would be putting both of them out there for their respective teams.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think you let them learn this year while playing. You're going to hit some bumps in the roads, obviously, because you're rookie quarterbacks. But honestly, the Bears and the 49ers are probably the two best teams with rookie quarterbacks right now. you might be able to throw the Patriots in that category as well. But I mean, the Bears and the 49ers are playoff contenders. I think, if you start both Fields and Lance for the rest of the season, you can really hit the 2022 season running with them.
Yeah, I agree. I think that that's a good point too. Is looking beyond this season. If you start them this year, then they'll have more experience for next year. And when you're still going to have a very good team, they're going to be a step better. And even if maybe you don't get to go as far as you could this season, but once again, I don't think Dalton and Jimmy Garoppolo will make you a Super Bowl contender. It'll definitely put you in a better position for next year.
And I think both of them are playoff contenders with their rookie quarterbacks. And
Yeah.
think about that experience, letting rookies start in the playoffs. That's huge learning experience for any rookie quarterback.
Yep, and I think that wraps up this week's podcast. It's definitely fun to track these rookie quarterbacks. Usually, we don't have 6 rookie quarterbacks that are already playing in the NFL in Week 4. But I mean, this quarterback class was really highly regarded for a reason, and we're already seeing it. The quarterback stepped up in Week 4, and we're excited to see them develop the rest of the season.
Yeah, definitely a special quarterback class. So that wraps up our episode. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week.